Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Coffee Corner. Today is your episode 64. I have to say the number because every time when I edit the video, I just forgot. I lost the track of how many videos I've done, and sometimes I just put the wrong number there. Anyway, so today, let's just sit comfortably, grab your drink, or do whatever you want. Let's talk about my job. And I know you probably noticed, where is Bob? And now, of course, so this is what happened this morning. I cleaned his ears. Somehow his ears were a little bit dirty or quite dirty. So I went to clean his ears. He didn't like that. And he got mad at me. Now he refused to stay here with me. So that's the whole story. I hope you still stay for me, not just for him. Anyway, so that's why I can sit comfortably because the whole couch now belongs to me. Um, Coming back to the job. Okay, so you might wonder how many times I mentioned about getting a job or doing an interview or something like that. It's not like I constantly switch jobs or something. It's just here. It's hard to say because in this field, let's say the field I know, it's quite complicated or interesting to get a job that when I came here as a student, of course I didn't have any Canadian experience, so I had to try to do all kinds of work to get that kind of experience. But you don't have enough to become a official, not official, what's the word, you can't get a permanent position right away. So let's say this is how that works in this teaching industry. So most of my jobs are temporary. I had my first job at a private language school. I did not have any benefits pension. I was on wages, which is like how many hours you've done, then you get paid for your hours. You don't get salary. I've done that for so many years, 5 years, since 2014, 2015. I volunteered for a long time. I can't remember. I think I officially started there in 2016. Yeah. And my wages was pretty low. I still remember when I first started, I only got paid for $15 an hour. That's a minimum wage here. So let's say I started from 2016. Yes, so that's been how many years there? So that's why I worked really hard because you don't work, you don't get paid. But that one temporary job doesn't really make up a full-time job salary. You know what I mean? So I had to do another job to make up for the full salary, and the other one was also a temporary position. And again, you only get paid how many hours you work, and you don't have any benefits and pension, and it's not stable because if there's something going on, and then you might get laid off. So that is very terrifying, especially for people like me that I tend to get anxious about unknown things. I like to know what's going on, what's going to happen, and what my plan will be. But with those temporary positions, I never know. Let's say once we have summer vacation or winter vacation, then I don't know after the vacation, am I still going to have the job or am I going to still do the same thing? So that really freaked me out for a long time. And I think that's part of my anxiety came from. So then I had that job. I was at that private language school, I was doing admin work, partially teaching, and I was also proctoring TOEFL tests on Saturday, which when I first started, I really liked it. I felt like it was fun because, it's a TOEFL test, of course. But it was so dragging, so draining for me. It's like I barely have weekend. So it's always I had to get up at 6, got there at 7, started to set up everything. And if test went smoothly, then I will be able to finish it around 2. If not, I think I had something like I got there at 7 and didn't finish until 3 or 3:30 or something like that. And I only got paid for minimum wage. That I did that for so many years. I enjoyed it when I first started, but again, it's something it's very unstable. You just can't. you just don't know like where you can go in the future, right? And then I kind of switched to not switch, I kind of shifted to a different direction because I always want to have like for now I'm thinking about having a very not very like having a relatively stable life, and then at least if there's something I don't have to worry about too much, especially about money, right? So you want to have constant income, stable income. So, and I happened to had this friend. She went to school board, and then she said, "Oh, would you like to volunteer here?" So I started my volunteer at that for a year. It was tough because I didn't have a car and I had to bus everywhere, and then it's not like you had to transfer multiple buses together. And like my commute time was about like 2 hours back and forth. So that's the part I didn't like, and I'm really, really, really terrible at directions. So I hated to go somewhere I didn't know, and that was like I kind of got lost in the like it was so funny. The Google map showed me a little path in the woods. I mean, how do you know there's a little secret path there? And I was so terrified going through there. Anyway, so got there, and then finally there's like a supply position. So what a supply position means is you're on call, right? So you're not guaranteed to have a job. So you're on call if some teacher is sick and then they need a substitute, then they will call you and say, "Can you come to cover the class?" So that's supply teachers. And I was lucky to get. I was really lucky, so I got a long term assignment, which is like the teacher went mat leave or there's something like maybe medical conditions, something like that. So I was able to have a relatively long class, like bigger class, and then I taught for a year there. But it was part time. And the funny thing is, I really liked that job and I really liked my students, but then COVID hit. And then of course everything went online and they didn't really need that many teachers. So they send out emails saying that, okay, so here are the things we're very sorry about what's going on. Da, da, da. So I all of a sudden lost that job. But the lucky thing is I'm a likable person. So my boss sent me a link to another school and say, well, you can definitely go ahead and apply for that. That's when I think that's when my video got popular here because I recorded my interview. That's how I got the other job. So I went there, and that job, of course, is also it's not like a temporary position. I don't know. They constantly hire people. They're famous for that. You never want to go work for a company that their turnover rate is too high, right? That tells you something. Anyway, so I was desperate for a job. Then I went for it and I did the interview, succeeded, and then got a job and started to work. And again, it's based on government funding for your classes. So nothing is guaranteed. So, but I think I was doing really well because so it was in summer in August, and then my friend called me and said, "Do you want to come back? Because if they're posting permanent position, I want you to be in this organization so you have an internal chance." I was okay, of course I want to come back. And that's when they offered me a job back to the school board. But that was still temporary, right? So long-term assignment, went back, started to teach, and then I had to quit the job at the other school. The funny thing is, I was temp there, and then I emailed them. I was like, I hate to say no to people. I'm very terrible at that. So I wrote a very long email, trying to be polite, trying to be like, I've enjoyed my experience there, my work life there, whatever. And then so started to do that. And then my manager called me right away saying that, oh, so we just want you to know that we're offering a regular position with the benefits. So that's when I started to think about, like, if you decide to offer me a regular position with the benefits, why didn't you tell me before? why, like, it's like, I don't want to threaten you to say, I'm going to quit if you don't give me this. But I feel like I wasn't really trying to do that, but then she gave me that kind of feeling that, oh, I'm trying to kind of keep you here, give you more. But I was like, if you really, really think I'm valuable to this organization, why didn't you offer me that in the very beginning? So I kind of was like, oh yeah, thank you so much or whatever. So back then, the other job paid better, and they were going to offer me benefits. So the job I just took was a temporary and nothing guaranteed. I had like no benefits at all, and even my job was not guaranteed. I still took the risk because I know this is the direction I wanted to go. So luckily, almost I think like just 2 weeks before we finished our term, and then they had this internal posting. So of course, and my boss was so funny. This is another story. And the funny thing that I still had to teach that day, but I didn't want to take a day off to get ready for my interview. But my lead said, "Bae, you need to take the afternoon off to get ready for your interview." So I think I'll be fine. And then she said, "No, you have to take time to get ready for that." I was like, "Okay, why is my boss asking me to take a half day off to get ready for interview?" Anyway, I know they really liked me. They wanted me to get that job, and I really appreciate that. And so anyway, so went on. It was 30 minutes interview. I can't remember like specific questions they asked me, and there's only like a certain general questions I remembered. It's not intense, but I definitely didn't remember what I said. But I remember I said really, really fast because they were like, "Oh, you got to slow down a little bit." That's my problem is when I get a little bit nervous, I speak really fast and I don't even think about it. So I think first the question is, they ask me, how would you apply your education and training to this job or to this position or to teaching or something. So because I remembered I only got so many minutes. I think it's per minutes, like one question per how many minutes. I forgot. So anyway, I was really in a rush to get everything done. So then I was like, oh, when I came here as a ESL student, this is what I went through and blah, blah, blah. And it was really long. It was really fast. I pretty much summarized what I've done since I came here. And I saw them there nodding their heads and things like that, making notes or something like that. So I was really pleased about my answer to that question. I think I did that well because that's basically just your solid education. How would you apply what you have learned to this teaching position? And I think I did it really well because I've had so many years of teaching experience already. I have to do a good job about that. Second question, I can't remember. What was that? I think it was about like teaching a certain topic. How would you do that? And then I think there's a question about how to communicate with your colleagues and students. I answered that just based on how I really did it within like the term or something. So they were like nodding because that's how you do it. I guess you just need to be honest about what you think, but also you want to throw a little bit spices there to make it look better, right? So it tastes good or something like that. I mean, I have work friends and I really like them. I just hang out with one of my work friends yesterday. So we normally would visit each other in the classrooms, and then we talk to each other on Teams or something like that. We ask for opinions, and my colleagues are very lovely. They are very, very willing to help you when you need help, and even sometimes when you don't need, they will ask you, "Do you need something?" And I have this, so I really like them. And of course, I was just honest and I told them everything, like how I got my guest speaker in class, how I did some of the difficult situation, things like that, and how my colleague helped me. And when my colleagues came to me, how I helped them. And the funny thing is, everyone liked me to record their listening. So I take that as a compliment because they say, oh, babe, I want you to do the listening for my students. So I sometimes do the monologue or dialogue with them. And then they just say, you sound like those listening audios. I was okay. So I'm very happy about that. I take that as a compliment. Anyway, so they were happy about that. And then and then another question is something I think I forgot. But then HR person asked me another question about how you would welcome your students online when they first join the class. So I didn't think I answered that question really well. It was awkward because I didn't really do much about that in class, especially the students who came later in the class. So what I normally do is just like let them introduce themselves and then talk about cultural differences and what is your what is your culture shock here, and then so we got to know each other. And I just added a comment saying that. I think culture is something you would want to talk and people would be interested in. So that's why I picked that as a icebreaker activity. So they were nodding their heads and taking notes. Okay. So I thought that was a good sign. And then at the end, they asked me if I had any questions. I'm like, I do not have any questions. Just offer me the job. The funny thing is, I think I said this, but when I get nervous, I tend to say something stupid. And then so they said, do you have any questions for us? I said, no, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this interview. And they look at me like, are you serious? I'm like, oh, crap. And I was like, okay, yeah, but like not trying to be nice, but I really enjoyed that. I think, it was funny. We had fun. And I was like, oh, yeah, of course. So that was really funny. But I did make a joke. I did make a joke in the end. So they were chatting, they were trying to make notes. I said, not trying to be rude, but you guys reminding me of my driving test. Like every time when I make moves, my examiner would take notes. I was like, oh crap, I made something. I must have did something wrong. I must do something wrong. No, so I must have done something wrong. And then they were laughing so hard. So I think my whole interview was very light for them, very light because they were constantly laughing about what I said and then how I offered my advice or something like that. So I was actually quite enjoying the whole process. I think I was of course nervous, but I showed my true feelings and personality. I think as long as you're genuine and they can feel that, then they will like it, right? So it lasted about 30 minutes or so, and then said, "Oh, we'll get back to you." They asked me, "So, oh yeah, you want a full time, right?" So, of course, full time. And so after that, they said, "Oh, I'll get back to you in like 1 or 2 weeks." So I was like, okay, good. So I was still teaching, and I think it's the last day of my teaching. That was a Friday at 4:30. I was waiting for an important phone call, not from them, but then I got that call at 4:30. I was like, oh, so like okay, so I was like, hello, and it's oh hello, this is someone calling from HR department. I was like, oh no, and my heart started to race so hard, and then she said, I have to apologize. I'm like, oh no, I did not get a job. I don't know why she started the sentence like that. So I said, oh my God, I didn't get a job. I could feel like my face was like, very frozen and I didn't know how to react. And then she said, oh, I was supposed to call you like a little bit earlier, but it's like a Friday last day and in the afternoon it's really bad, but I'm really sorry about it. But I want you got the job. I'm like, thank God. I could feel my tears running down on my cheeks, and I was like, oh my God. And then she said, oh, you did such an amazing job just in an interview. I really liked you. Da, da, da. And so you got a job. And I was like, okay. So because they have full-time permanent full-time, and then they have permanent part-time, she just said I got a job. So I didn't know it was full-time or part-time. At that moment, I feel like as long as it's permanent, and that's good. And then she said, oh, it's like 25 hours a week plus 3 hours prep. So you will in total you will be get paid you will get paid for 28 hours. I'm like, a full time? Oh my God. You know, it's not like I'm trying to be so exaggerating about it, but when I volunteered at a TESOL organization, I met a teacher. She's Canadian. She's a native speaker. It took her 8 years 8 years to get this permanent full-time position. So that's why I felt like, I don't know how I felt. I feel like at that moment I had that imposter syndrome. It's like, oh, I don't deserve it. But then I feel like, oh, I deserved it. Or something like it's a back and forth. But it took me, I started the part-time temp in 2019. So 2019, 20, 21, 20. So it took me almost 4 years to get that job. But it didn't feel really long because I had switched to different jobs and started to work with different organizations. But I felt really, really happy about it. And then it shows me that I am very strong. So I really appreciate my own effort and also other people's support too. So that is the whole story about getting the job. I think the reason is, no, there's no reason. I was just thinking about and then I called my colleague, my colleague slash friend, best friend. We used to work together when I first started my job at that private language school. We both worked really hard, and I called him. I said, oh, okay, then I got news. I got this job. He was so happy for me. And because when we started to work, he started to just teaching. And I think I started my admin work there, and we both taught. And then we did TOEFL together every Saturday. And he knew how hard I worked there with all kinds of volunteer jobs and my paid jobs and other things, and how much I've done to get to where I am right now. So he actually listed how much I've done. And I just could not hold myself. I started to cry like a baby. And it's oh, you totally deserve it. I'm like, oh my God. It feels really good if someone remembers or someone acknowledge or have seen how much you have done to get what you want, right? So I never had shortcuts. And I'm very, very shy. I don't like to bother people. I never asked for advice, which is don't be like me. If you have resources or connections, definitely go ahead and do networking and help yourself out, right? So don't be like me. It's kind of very silly. It took me a long time to figure out how to do things. But I could say that I really did everything step by step, and every step is solid. So that is my job about that. That's what I want to talk about. I think what I'm thinking is I was trying to get everything done within 15 minutes, but when you have this kind of podcast style, it's just hard to fit everything in 15 minutes. And then plus I'm very talkative. So anyway, I think that's the end of the story. Let me know how you feel about it, or like what is your experience about jobs or anything. My advice for everyone out there, doesn't matter if you're still students or you're looking for jobs, I think it's never give up being good, right? So don't always look for shortcuts, because you want a solid foundation. Maybe this time it doesn't work out for you. That's okay. Don't give up. Like you have to, if you're a student, you need to always study and study hard to make yourself better. You are not only looking at this moment, because time flies. You're gonna have to move on. But if you waste the time right now, you lose the chance to get yourself better. When you are when you are doing some jobs that right now you don't like, which that happened to me very often, it's not like you're totally giving up. It's I don't like it, I will focus on something else. No, learn as much as possible, because every single job, even if it's horrible, you still can learn from it. Doesn't matter if it's about social relationship or hard skills or any kind of soft skills, you're going to pay attention to details and learn as much as possible, make yourself better. And when there is a chance in front of you, you are able to grab it, right? So don't waste the time, don't waste any opportunities to learn. Even though you are, let's say, in the hell right now, but everything is temporary. So you're going to get up and you're going to get what you want. It's just a matter of time, right? So that's my advice. Let me know what you think. I think that's today's video. And the next time I'll try to be nice to Bob and bring him back. Anyway, bye. Peace out.